Chapter 11, Part 4, Understanding Prejudice. Prejudice is a negative attitude towards people who belong to a specific social group. It is ultimately based on the exaggerated notion that members of other social groups are very different from members of our own social group. Keep two well-established points in mind. Racial and ethnic groups are far more alike than they are different. Any differences that may exist between members of different racial and ethnic groups are far smaller than differences among various members of the same group. From stereotypes to prejudice, in-groups and out-groups. Stereotype is a cluster of characteristics that are associated with all members of a specific social group, often including qualities that are unrelated to the objective criteria that define the group. Relying on stereotypes is problematic for several reasons. Attributing a stereotypic cause for an outcome or event can blind us to the true cause. An insidious effect of stereotypes is stereotype threat, in which a person performs in accordance with his or her group's stereotype. Once formed, stereotypes are hard to shake. When confronted by evidence that contradicts a stereotype, people tend to discount that information. Creating special cases, exceptions, allows people to maintain stereotypes in the face of contradictory evidence. People have a strong tendency to perceive others in terms of two basic social categories, us and them. The in-group, us, refers to the group to which we belong. The out-group, them, refers to groups of which we are not a member. Two important patterns characterize our views of in-groups versus out-groups. Typically, we describe the members of our in-group as being quite varied, despite having enough features in common to belong to the same group. We tend to see members of the out-group as much more similar to one another, even in areas that have little to do with the criteria for group membership. This tendency is called the Outgroup Homogenity effect. In-group bias is the tendency to judge the behavior of in-group members favorably and out-group members unfavorably. One form of in-group bias, called Ethnosentrism, is the belief that one's own culture or ethnic group is superior to others. In combination, stereotypes and in-group, out-group bias form the cognitive basis for prejudicial attitudes. Prejudice also has a strong emotional component, which is intensely negative and involves hatred, contempt, fear, and loathing. Behaviorally, prejudice can be displayed in the form of discrimination. One theory holds that intergroup hostility and prejudice may increase when there is a competition for scarce resources. Prejudice and intergroup hostility are also likely to increase during times of social change. In the absence of conflict, prejudice is often directed against groups perceived as threatening important group norms and values. This concludes this part of Chapter 11.